Today we move on to the poem From a Railway Carriage by Robert Louis Stevenson. Children, do you love traveling? Of course, I do. Definitely, I know you too love to travel. You know there are different modes of travel like bus, car, train, aeroplane, ship, etc. Each of us vary in our interest to travel. Have you ever been on a train? Do you love traveling on a train? I'm sure you would have really enjoyed traveling by train. Just close your eyes and think about the travel. You would have heard its sound, the unique sound of the train, the moving scenes outside your window, everything disappearing in a fraction of a second. Surely you would have enjoyed, isn't it? This is what the poet tells us, his travel and how he enjoyed it. Here the poet Robert Louis Stevenson beautifully shares his experience of a railway journey and how he enjoyed it from the window of a railway carriage. He shares his happiness with us. Robert Louis Stevenson was a Scottish novelist, poet, essayist, musician, and travel writer. His famous works are Treasure Island, Kidnapped, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and A Child's Garden of Verses. The joy we get from traveling is the major theme of this poem. It also explains about the beauty of nature. So let me move on to the poem. Let me read it for you. From a Railway Carriage. Faster than ferries, faster than witches, bridges and houses, hedges and ditches, and charging along like troops in a battle, all through the meadows, the horses and cattle. All of the sides of the hill and the plain fly as thick as driving rain, and ever again in the wink of an eye, painted stations whistle by. Here is a child who clambers and scrambles all by himself and gathering brambles. Here is a tramp who stands and gazes, and there is the green for stringing the daisies. Here is a cart run away in the road, lumping along with man and load. And here is a mill, and there is a river, each a glimpse and gone forever. Now let me move on to the explanation. Faster than ferries, faster than witches, bridges and houses, hedges and ditches, and charging along like troops in a battle, all through the meadows, the horses and cattle. Here the poet says that the train runs more quickly than the ferries can fly. You know how ferries are very quick in flying, isn't it? So even quicker than that the train moves. And the witches, even the witches are they're just in a fraction of a second. They move out of sight, isn't it? So that way the train moves very fast. When the train advances forward, it seems as if the soldiers are attacking the enemy in the battlefield. Troops means soldiers. So the train rushes on bridges, houses, fences and ditches, leaving everything behind. It also leaves behind the green fields where horses and cattle are grazing. So cattle means cows and bulls and all that. Moving on to the next stanza. All of the sides of the hill and the plain fly as thick as driving rain, and ever again in the wink of an eye, painted stations whistle by. The poet says that all the scenes of the hill, the plains, everything were being crossed by the train so quick as one drop of rain follows another in a storm. You know how in a storm the rain is very heavy and it is thick, that immediately it follows each drop. Same way the train moves so fast, he says. Even in short movements, train was crossing painted stations with just a moment, only a moment he could see them. It was crossing so quickly, he said. The painted stations were whistling by, that it crossed so quickly that the poet could just see it only for a moment. So moving on to the next stanza. Here is a child who clambers and scrambles all by himself and gathering brambles. Here is a tramp who stands and gazes, and there is the green for stringing the daisies. Here the poet says that the window of the trains, that is seeing from the window of the train's compartment, he sees a child climbing a steep ground. He's climbing a steep ground, which is with great difficulty, scrambling. That is with very great difficulty. The child was also gathering blackberries during the climbing, when he was climbing. So he was climbing with great difficulty. The poet also sees homeless person who was just looking at the train in amazement. He is so poor that he's seeing train for the first time and he's just looking at it with awe. He also sees some ladies in a common village grassy land making garlands of daisy flowers. So all these beautiful sceneries just pass to him, pass in a second. So the poet is very he feels very strange about all these things and he looks with awe. Here is a cart run away in the road, lumping along with man and load. And here is a mill, and there is a river, each a glimpse and gone forever. So the poet further says he saw a cart moving slowly in the middle of a highway. So the cart was fully loaded, and the cart driver was just sitting on the top of the load, and it was with great difficulty he was moving, and then he saw a mill and a river while traveling in the train. All these objects disappeared in a fraction. The poet beautifully picturizes how beautiful the mill and the river, the scene looks, and everything disappeared so quickly that the poet looked at them for a very brief time and understood that they can never be seen again, because he will not be coming on the same side hereafter. So he feels very sad and also at the same time very happy, because he could view so many things from his window. Thank you.